obscured by many bushes and trees. They know that they camouflage a lot better behind trees, and so they normally head that way. But you can see just the sort of size of the kudu in relation to our fork-tailed drongo. Look at how small the drongo is in comparison. And the drongo is being very clever. We saw them earlier, and I was talking about how shrewd they are. Not only do they mimic animals, but they also know that following bigger species of animals like the kudu means food items. So you can see as the kudu moves along, so the drongo then flies down, hawks the insects that these guys have disturbed out of the grass, and then back onto a perch. So you'll find wherever there are quite large animals, fork-tailed drongos are not too far away. But isn't that beautiful? Ah, very relaxed kudu, these guys. So Tucker, you're 5 years old. Hello Tucker. You want to know whether or not I could drive up to him and maybe he would be scared with my horns on the front of the car. Well Tucker, this is a young male, and so young boys like this will be a little bit scared of the bigger males with big horns. So our big horns and our noisy engine would probably make him scared. But I don't think he's scared of us as a animal. I think he's just scared more of the noise than anything else. But I don't want to chase him and scare him and hurt him in any way and make him not trust us, so I'm not going to try. But I would imagine if I tried to drive there, he would run away and try and get away from me, just because we're a lot bigger and noisier, and not just because of our horns. So even if I didn't have the horns on the front, he would still probably try and run away from me, just because he's scared of the noise of the car coming too close to him. But yes, I think our horns are quite intimidating. They do definitely look quite good, and so we need to find a big male kudu, Tucker, because if a big male kudu sees us, then maybe we'll see what happens. Now I actually saw a video yesterday of a big male kudu attacking a giraffe, so if we do come across a big male kudu, I hope he doesn't try to attack us, because he was quite violent attacking the giraffe. He chased the giraffe and knocked him over, and so I don't want that to happen to us, because I think a big male kudu attacking Rusty will not go down well at all. Ferg, I don't think I want those horns in Rusty, do you? No. So let's try and avoid big male kudus then, because let's not try and test our theory. And while we try and avoid the big male kudus and attract the leopards, let's go back to Ellie and see if she's found a more sheltered spot at the dam to hide from this cold wind.
A video of a kudu attacking a giraffe. I don't know if I've ever heard such a thing. Sometimes I wonder about Tristan. I've put on my gloves because it's way too cold. Unfortunately, it seemed like we had a bad signal area, so we are slowly moving off Chitwa, but we want to do a bit of a longer loop out to see if perhaps, you know, Hosanna or Tingana or pretty much anyone else is around here. Doesn't seem to be too much of the case. One of the big crocodiles was there, so let me just show you guys quickly so that you can have a look at this beautiful Nile crocodile. That was, okay, come on, phone, anytime now. He was busy enjoying a bit of warmth. Hello? Why are you not swapping over? Sometimes technology, it's my worst enemy. Look at that. That's the beautiful crocodile we were looking at. Look at those massive teeth that it's got. So, whew, a bit of a scary one, isn't he? And he was just standing that still. We actually didn't even see it at the beginning because it was just, you know, it had its tail facing towards our side of the road. So very stand and steady but beautifully big crocodile. So, it seems like there's a report of maybe some Ellies down the road. So we're going to see if perhaps we can get lucky with them. See if we see an elephant or two on this elephant day for the Animal Awareness Week. I think my hair is flying all over the place. And we shall carry on going there. Seems like away from the water is not too bad. And the temperature has risen a little bit, so we're not as cold as we were just a few moments ago. But maybe when we come around onto this bend, we'll be able to show you a bit of the horizon, so you have a bit of a visual of what we're facing today. Because it's looking very funny. It looks very dark, and then all of a sudden with the last sun rays, and it lights up, and it doesn't look nearly as bad. And I would imagine you're all like, "Ugh, what is she talking about? It's not that cold." I don't know. Seb, what do you think here, straight ahead? Will that be a good view? Just for the little bit of light that's coming through. And we've got, you see, just a tiny bit where the clouds haven't really conquered that part of the horizon. So we've got some light there. So it's looking, you see, we've got the very dark cover on top, and then we've got the light in the middle, and we're pretty much the sandwich in between the earth and the sky. So, onwards and forwards we shall go. Forwards. I've been spending too much time with Tristan, and now I'm talking like him. I think maybe I need to start talking Spanish to him so that he can start whacking a few words like Byron did this morning. I was so very much impressed by all of his Spanish words and all the appropriate words he said. So I'm sure we will all be missing Byron for the next few days, but he shall be back at some point, I'm sure. Maybe he will learn a few more words. Maybe this will get Tristan to start learning a few more words. Haha! I'm sure that would be good. Alrighty, let's see if maybe we can find these elephants that were called in on the radio a while earlier. So hopefully we'll be able to see them cross the road. Let me just get a hold of Tristan and find out where these elephants apparently were. Oh, come on, radio. Tristan, Bradley, Tristan. Where were those in Glovo that you called in earlier? Ah. Okay, copy, thank you. Alright. Let's go. What? The stripes?
The track on the road.
Oh, the tracks on the road. Sorry. I couldn't figure out what you were saying. These tracks on the road are hyena, very blown by the wind. And I'm pretty much... No, you are not a hyena. You look more like a lion track. Old lion track. I think they did say something about maybe the sticks around here. Let's see. It is a bit of a tough one, but no, definitely the three lobes around here, so well spotted, Steb. I just wanna... and they go all the way down there. Let me just have a quick look around here and see what's been happening. I thought it was a hyena for a moment, but then there's very clear lobes around. So let's see here. What am I looking at? No, these are all definitely lion tracks on the road. Right, well spotted, Seb. So, let me just get hold of the radio and find out if anybody followed up on these tracks this morning. And, because maybe they've crossed somewhere else. Come, radio channel, work with me. Sometimes radios don't really want to work. Right, let's see where they go. Can any station copy me on this channel? Alright, while I try to figure out this mystery, let's go over to Tristan and see what he's up to.
Well, what I'm doing is admiring the so-called fingers of God, is what they are called. So that is the phenomenon when light shines through clouds. This is what it is referred to as, apparently, according to Craig. That's what Craig tells me. Is that right, Ferg? Is this a camera term? No, have you never heard that?
I've heard God's rays.
God's rays. I don't know. Craig told me the other day that they referred to as that, but I wasn't sure. But either way, it is beautiful. That sun is just starting to come down below those clouds, and so we've got these rays of light just coming through as the clouds sort of breaking up, and it is very pretty, that's for sure. So worth stopping and admiring, no matter what they're called. It would be something that I would love to just sit and watch. And I think what we're going to do is, because I know that sun is going to go underneath those clouds, and it might be really beautiful with a sunset, so I'm going to try and head somewhere where I can get a very good sunset. I'm going to try and get that sun just below those clouds, and hopefully all these clouds are going to illuminate with beautiful colors and pinks and purples, and it will be a magical sunset even on our windy day. So that's what we're going to try and do, I think, and we'll try and head that way. You can see it's still quite windy. The tops of the trees are still being blown, and it is very quiet out here. In terms of sounds, it is almost dead. There's no birds calling, no animals. It really is quite interesting to hear the difference when it's windy like this, how nothing feels as though it almost becomes dead in a way. It really is quite strange, particularly at this time of the day. Right, Ferg, onward and... I was going to say forward, but I stopped myself because apparently it's a bad influence on others. So now I'm going to try and come up with another phrase to let me go forward. I tend to do this. I don't know why. I latch onto a word and then I use it and abuse it too much, and then it's time for a change. So now it's time for a change. No more onward and forward. Ellie's stolen it. It's time for something else. What else should we use, Ferg? You're good with words. Forward march. Alright, that's it from now on. Forward march is going to be our new catchphrase for the month. Let's see if we can start using it. Still no sign of any of these Ellies. I would have thought maybe they would have popped out where we are now, given that there was tracks in the Mulawati, but nothing that I can find. I think wherever they are, they're in the deepest, thickest bush possible, trying to stay out of the way of this horrible wind. And I know there's that one male elephant on Gari Main close to where Ellie is, so hopefully she's going to be able to find that and be able to show you all a big bull elephant. Also, no sign of Tandi and Tamba. Can't find a single footprint of theirs anywhere, so I don't know if maybe she killed something yesterday and that's why we just didn't find them somewhere in the Mulawati area, and we're battling now to see where they've gone. And unfortunately, we just can't spend enough time on foot in that area, and even if they are in there, it's going to be so difficult to even get a car anywhere near that section. I walked a little bit there yesterday and it's just fallen over, tangled mess, and so I don't think we'd even be able to get to her if she was inside that area. But we'll keep looking for her. You know, spotlight's always a good thing, and you can pick up eye shine quite far. We saw that with Tingana last night. Even though he was way in the distance at night, a bit of eye shine and you can kind of pick up some of these cats. So sometimes at night is a good time. Also, hopefully with the sun setting, is going to cause the wind just to die down a little bit, and that will get our cats moving around and walking around a bit more. Right, now it's been a fairly productive afternoon for all things hoofed, and so we've had antelope all over the place really, and I believe Ellie has found some more. Which is now...
He's got nowhere else to go. We have managed to find one of the bigger creatures around. It's just a beautiful young elephant bull, but I think he wants to cross onto this side of the road, so we're trying to give it a bit of space. And I know the visual is not great, but if I go to an area where if I just go slightly forward, he won't have too much of a space to move around. So I hope you guys can bear with me for a few moments. We're just waiting to see where it wants to go, because I'm sure it'll move onto a bit of more of a clearing and we won't have to bother it too much. So we saw some of the tracks earlier on for the rest of the herd, and this is one of those young bulls. I wonder if perhaps it's the same one that we saw drinking on its own for quite a while the other day, just lagging behind the herd and pretending that it's all big and grown up and doesn't really want the company of all the other elephants. Oh, somebody's having fun eating. Eating a buffalo thorn tree. Now it's quite funny, in the Zulus have particularly care about this tree, and look how it's eating it very slowly. So it is said that not even elephants will completely turn down and break apart this tree, because if they do, then we would have a drought. So they believe that even elephants tend to respect this tree just because they know what's better for them. And I think this one is actually enjoying it quite a bit, but let's see, perhaps the myth or the legend would be true and he would just leave the tree on its own instead of breaking it all apart. You can now see all those tiny little pointy spines and hook thorns that the tree has got, but how easily the elephant is maneuvering all around them with that very thick trunk of his. Broken down, and in we go. even used its tongue to push everything back. Must be feeling quite optimistic about these thorns. You see, he is eating and masticating very carefully. There we go. Break a new branch. It is quite amazing how they place it upon the middle of their trunk and then they hold it there, grab it again, and put it back into their mouth. Fascinating. Oh, I hear more elephants in the distance as well. I think it sounded like a bit of an unhappy elephant. What? Don't you get all cocky now. I'm gonna go back, Seb.
Okay.
Sorry, Chantal, can you repeat the question? I was trying to talk to Seb, trying to decide if we were gonna go back. No one likes me. You're wondering if there are any Asian elephants on safari. Well, not here, no. Here we only have the African elephants, which is the one that we're looking at. But in some other parts of the world, like in India, for example, when they go on safari, they see the Asian elephant, and instead of seeing, for example, lions, although they do have lions in some areas, they see tigers. So they are somewhat similar, but not the same species. So here we just get this particular one, the African elephant, which is a bit bigger. The ears are also a bit bigger, and they tend to be known for being slightly more aggressive, whereas the Asian elephants can be tamed up to an extent. Alright, boy, we've given you a bit of space so that you can cross. That was quite funny, his reaction. So he heard the elephants in the distance trumpeting and, making all sorts of calls. And then he moved in, gave us a bit of a head flap. Debbie in Vancouver, you're saying that it's amazing that the elephant's trunk and parts do not get torn by the thorns. It is, because some of the things that I've seen them eat are quite incredible. Sorry. I know the visual is not great, but he keeps moving into very thick areas. So, I think maybe let's just see where he goes. Maybe a bit more into the open. Nope. Okay. I think we're playing a game where he's just making it harder for us. I think if I go back, maybe we'll have a bit of a look. So yes, part of the reason why their ears and their trunk do not get torn by the spines is because they have very thick skin. So sometimes it's about 3 centimeters thick. No, you're not pushing me away. I'm letting you pass. It's different. It's a matter of principle, young boy. Look at him, being all brave, coming onto the termite mound, pretending to be bigger than what he really is. Bumble Girl, you're wondering if they get digestive tract problems. Well, their digestive system is not as efficient as the one of some of the other herbivores, like for example the buffalo or the impala. And pretty much everything that they eat comes out roughly the same way it went in. So they only digest about 40% of what they actually eat. So they have to make up for it by eating a lot more to be able to sustain such a big weight. But I'm sure some of them do get sometimes colics and stomach ailments and problems and things like that, but they always know which plants to eat, and it's believed that they know that, for example, like if they're having stomach problems and they need to somewhat clean their stomachs, they'll go and eat trees that are full of white milky latex that acts like a purgative. Kudus are very well known for doing this, as well as some species of antelope. And I'm pretty sure it's the same way with elephants. They know that certain plants might have a certain effect on them. especially if they're not feeling great, because they are very clever creatures. This young boy. I'm going to see if he decides to be a bit nicer and we can have another look, but while we do that, let's go over to Tristan, who's got also a very big hippo.
We have indeed. Well, we were searching for a sunset that is, well, not living up to expectations, and we bumped into our friend at Treehouse Dam, who's not being as shy as he used to be. He's starting to actually show himself a little bit longer these days. The first few times we came here, it was underwater and hiding for long periods of time, whereas now he actually spends a little bit of time above water watching us. Your eyes must be getting full of water. You're supposed to close your eyes when you go under, silly. But you can see how he's just keeping an eye on us, and every now and then the nose comes up and big deep breath, and then you'll see that those noses seal up. There we go, it's just sealed as he goes underneath. So as he's under, the nose seals and the ears will actually seal as well. So watch those nostrils there. See, big deep breath and then close again. That's very cool. Nice camera work, Ferg. That's nice to see. It's not often that you can actually watch the nostrils of a hippo opening and closing. Oh, big breath, and there we go, under again. And I was saying that the ears will also seal off. So you see they've got very small openings to their ears. And what happens is when they go under, they actually twist their ears backwards towards the back of the head. And that closes everything. There you go, you saw that? And then they go under, and both the nose and the ears are then sealed so that water doesn't go in there. When they come back up again, we're going to have a situation where as he comes up, he's going to push water as hard as he can through the nostrils and try and get rid of any excess water that's on top when he comes up, and then the ears will flick to try and throw any water that has gotten caught in the ear itself. And so that keeps them from getting swimmer's ear like we do, where water gets compacted inside there and stays in there. It helps them to prevent all of that so they don't get earache and are a little bit more comfortable in this aquatic lifestyle. But you can see the wind is still blowing fairly strongly, and there we go. No big exhale. No. There we go. So, Dave, you're wondering why hippos stay in the water all day. Look, he's going to yawn. Let's see. There we go. There we go. Oh, look at those teeth. And back under again. Well, Dave, the reason why they stay in water all day is because, much like us as people, they don't have much hair on their bodies, not like a lot of the other animals out here. And so the sun is a big problem for them. One is that they can get badly burnt, and the second thing behind it is that they get very badly dehydrated, so their skin dries very quickly. And it's much like us. If you were to put us naked in the bush and tell us to walk around for days on end, you would find that we'd end up with a situation where we would dehydrate very, very quickly. And so for them, they spend all day in the water where their skin can stay nice and moist, and then at night they come out to feed. And remember, a hippo is a large animal, so it needs a lot of food and needs to spend a vast majority of its time feeding. And that means that they can't spend all day out there like rhinos and elephants, which have thicker skins. These guys are slightly softer, more supple skin, and they dehydrate a lot faster. And so they then have to spend time during the day in water, and then at night is when they come out to be able to feed, so that doesn't happen. It's also interesting that their glands on their skin have a special secretion that looks almost like a sort of milky blood that comes out, and that secretion helps to keep that skin hydrated and to keep them from burning, especially if they're out in the mornings or in the afternoons when they're lying on the sandbanks if this water gets too cold. And on top of that, at night it just keeps them hydrated. In the summer months, particularly when it's very, very hot in the evenings, you'll find that they can secrete that and keeps their skin nice and elastic and moist and stops them from dehydrating and getting cracked skin that could then irritate them. There you saw how the ear flicked just to get rid of any of that excess water. But that is so cool. Not every day you can be able to get so close to a hippo and be able to see every little bit of his ears and his eyes and his nose. So Jenny, you're wondering what species hippos are related to, and this is the great debate, because depending on where you read and what articles you read will give you a different answer. But there is a suspicion that they are related to whales or pigs. Those are the two that I've read about most. Now, of course, they are so different from both of those animals, it's difficult to kind of draw a link to them. And now in current day situation, they really are in their own family altogether, so there's no direct relation to them currently as it stands, but they think that way back whales or pinks could potentially be their ancestors, but it is such a big debate, and I don't think anyone actually has any solid proof as to where they come from or who is their closest relation at this stage. Are you getting sleepy, Hippo? You can see it's now getting relaxed with us, and every now and then those eyes get quite heavy, and then under we go. Very cool to see. It's not every day, like I say, that we can get such close visuals on a hippo. Generally the hippos are quite shy and they tend to sit quite far away from us, but given that we have these cameras that are able to go so close to the hippos, it really is quite something. Now, I said our sunset was a bit of a bust. The one nice thing is that the sky has actually got a bit of a pink tinge to it, so even though it's not a beautiful sunset, it's quite an ominous, sort of intriguing sunset, if you'll call it that. Big dark clouds, bit of pink on the horizon. It's a very sort of dramatic sunset, if you want to call it that, or a dramatic cloud set. That's what we're going to call it. Now you can also hear that the wind is really howling, so we're going to try and just turn down our ambience, because otherwise you're going to drown me out completely, since I'm not the loudest person around and I'm a little bit more soft spoken, so I do apologize if we were a little bit soft there, but the wind really is gusting at the moment, and you can see as Ferg sweeps around, the clouds are getting thicker and thicker and thicker as we're going, so it looks as though it's going to be quite a dreary night. And if you're an antelope species, that's not a good sign. That is an ominous way to end the day, because they know that soon the predators will be out on the prowl in windy, dark conditions like we're going to have tonight. Remember, it's also near new moon now, and that means that it's going to be pitch black tonight, and perfect if you're a predator that wants to slink unnoticed through the grasses to be able to hunt. So tough night out if you're an antelope, a very good night and good start to the weekend if you're a predator, that's for sure. If you're a hippo, well, you don't really care either way, because nothing out here is really going to bother you too much. The lions in this particular part of the world are not that desperate for hippos at the moment. Maybe if there was very few prey animals around, they would try, but there is zebras and wildebeest and impalas and kudu and nyala and buffalo that are far more tasty and far easier to catch than a hippo, so the hippo is not going to be too fazed by this weather. And in fact, tonight it will be a little bit better for the hippo, because it will be nice and cool this evening, and so they definitely won't dehydrate or get dry skin this evening. Good. Hippo underwater. I think that's our cue to probably carrying on. So Tanis, in Canada, you say, aren't the skulls of hippos and warthogs quite similar? Well, they are quite similar. So I mean, both of them produce tusks, which is a modified tooth, and that's basically what ivory is. So elephants and hippos and warthogs all produce that. The tusks grow, the big ones, both from the bottom jaw of both hippos and warthogs, and the general shape of them is quite similar. So it's possible that they do descend from the pig family, but you know, there's no direct evidence or direct link that can tell the two apart, so that's why it's really just up for debate. Now, of course, we're coming past the vehicle, so we're going to just say hello to them quickly as we do. And I'm sure they're wondering why we have kudu horns on the front, so it's going to be an interesting explanation here quickly. Hello Ralph, how are you doing? Hello everybody. Lutu. Nothing. Okay, if I see anything, I'll let you know. Okay, sure. Cheers guys, have a good day. Now, of course, to all of you out there, you'll know why I've got big white things on the front of my car, but well, those people just looked at me as though I was absolutely crazy, and why am I driving around with these huge white things on the front? It was quite entertaining actually to watch what was going on. Sometimes I wonder about our craziness, Ferg. I'm surprised though we didn't get actually a smile from anyone. They were all looking very perplexed, but there was really no smile. I would have thought somebody would have smiled and at least asked a question, but it seems like they were quite serious safari goers and not really interested in asking us too much, which is a strange situation. Now, I'm going to try and see if I can't find any signs of any of the leopards that we've been trying to look for, and while I do that, let's go back to Ellie, who I think is still with her elephant and not an antelope.
Well, it seems like the elephant has decided it's been enough, because he's walking into a bit of a more thicker bush. The wind has picked up again a little bit more, so perhaps that's the reason why. And we also heard some elephants calling in the distance a while earlier. So I think maybe he's just decided to go and join up with the rest of the herd. So I'm going to actually do a bit of a turn around, but now that I'm looking back, perhaps it's worth having a look at the beautiful sky behind us. So let me just do this quickly while we leave this elephant up to its, I would suppose it's his evening meal, and try to reverse with Wendy, which is always a bit of an interesting experience. But perhaps we can have a look at the sky from all the way over here. I think the sun, we won't have too much of a sunset today. The clouds are pretty much hiding it away. But beautiful, isn't it? All this beautiful color is starting to play out. I think hopefully the purples will play a bit more of a part later on. But I think slowly but surely this cloud cover has started to take over Djuma as well, because it was just in the southern boundary, and I think the wind has done a very extensive job of just pushing the clouds. But sometimes I think it's worth it. Normally the prettiest sunsets are the ones with beautiful clouds. That's very artsy of you, Seb. That's wonderful. I love the way that looked. Beautiful. Who knows, maybe this will be a good cue for all the leopards to maybe come onto the main roads and let us have a look. And I forgot to update you about those lion tracks. I got so excited with the elephant that I got sidetracked. But they tracked the lions this morning. They think it was the Styx females, but they go all the way into Torchwood, which is an area that unfortunately we do not traverse with. So we couldn't follow up on the tracks anymore. The guys did see them this morning though. Pretty. Alright, let me try and move around, get us out of this position that I've put us in. I wonder if Tristan is regretting wearing shorts already. He was the only brave one. Seb, myself and Ferg, we were all wearing long pants this afternoon. Beautiful sunset. Thank you. Alright, let's see if perhaps any of the leopards that lurk around the Gari Main will come onto their own at some point. I'm hoping they will. I think maybe Tandi or Tamba or Tingana, Hosanna, Shongile, any of them could be around here. So we'll keep our eyes open. Not too many tracks around. But who knows, even Tingana was there last night pretending he wasn't. So hopefully we'll be able to see some of them around here. Kennedy, you're 9 years old and on the way from Chicago, and you're wondering what the latest news are on the royal cubs. Well, Shangila hasn't been seen for a little while, or at least we haven't seen her at Djuma. I think she was seen recently at Little Gowrie, but I'm not 100% sure of that. And the same is valid for Hosanna. So we saw him at Chitwa a while back, and I think after that Tristan had him on Djuma, and it seems like he had a bit of a killer. He had been eating on something. So I think that's the last that we have seen them. I'm not too sure if any of the other lodges around and some of the properties we don't traverse with have been able to see them recently. But I think in terms of the cubs, for the time being, for a short period of time, no, and they're doing fine. Now, if we were to problem.
Well, it seems like Ellie needs a pair of horns of her own to keep the gremlins at bay, because they've attacked her and now she has fallen victim to a gremlin attack. But she was referring to the shorts, and well, I'm quite fine actually at this stage. Funny enough, I'm not feeling too cold. I know Ellie feels the cold a lot quicker than anybody else, and she's a tropical creature, and so that's why, but I'm actually feeling alright. The one thing might be a problem though is that I may have left one glove in Wendy, which now means that I've got to drive with one hand, and hopefully if I did leave a glove, it's going to be the left glove, because the left glove means that I can put my hand over here. And I also see that, Ferg. Let's quickly try and get there. Now, Ferg has spotted something that I want to show all of you, but I'm going to have to try and get to a more open section, and I know just where to go. So hold on, everyone. Set. So that's why I'm going quite fast. Sorry, Ferg. I'm bouncing you around. But now I was saying with my left glove will be a problem, because if it's my left glove, it's fine. My left glove will be down, my hand will be down here on the gear lever, which means that it doesn't get the cold chilly wind, whereas my right hand is the one that I need a glove for. So look at this. Not only do we have the sunset, but we have some stripy animals to complement our said sunset. Yes, zebras, don't look at me as though I'm weird. I know I've got horns attached to the car. Don't judge. Forward. You just tell me when, Ferg. You're the boss. Forward, 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 forward. I feel like I'm... stop. Back. Oh, okay. Sorry, Ferg. Sorry. There we go. Okay, there we go. Ferg got very excited there. I feel like I was in a... There used to be a game on a kids show when I was younger called Sonic Grab, and they used to have to tell Sonic, who is the hedgehog in a video game, where to go, and you had to go forward, 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 and grab. And do you remember that, Ferg? Yes, well, there we go. So that is our glorious sunset that I was referring to earlier. I said that we might get a beautiful orange disc coming underneath the clouds, and that was what I was hoping for at Treehouse Dam, but Treehouse Dam was the wrong angle. We didn't have the right angle, and now we found it. So good spot, Ferg, between the trees. It was very well spotted, this big, giant orange orb that's slowly descending behind the mountains. You can see just the top of the mountains there as it's going behind, and the cloud layer, thankfully, gave us a little bit of a break, and we were able to see the sun going down. And like I said, we even have some zebras to go with our sunset, which is a perfect way to finish the day, that's for sure. It amazes me how fast the sun goes down, though. Just so quick. Now, there's nothing better than just sitting in silence watching a sunset, so I think Ferg and I are going to just relax here, enjoy our view, and while we do that, I believe Ellie is trying to compete with our sunset.
We are trying to compete with your sunset, Tristan, but we'll leave it up to everyone using hashtag Safari Live to let us know if maybe your view was better or if mine was better, and then I will definitely go and check. It is quite something. I think Tristan is right. Maybe let's just take a minute or two to appreciate the sun going down in full silence. So I'm gonna be quiet for a little bit just while the sun goes down, so we can appreciate everything that's happening around us. Amazing how quickly it went down, and just that little bit, just as soon as it went below the tree line, there it is, pretty much gone. And there goes our last bit of hope of being warm for the day. Alright, thank you guys for saying that there is no comparison in between the two sunsets, or the two views of the same sun setting, and that is all very pretty. I am sorry, but I have to, now that the sun is gone, I have no hope that I'm gonna be very cold, so I just want to put on this jacket before I even try and move 1 inch forward, because I know I'm gonna be way too cold. Alright, let's see if Tristan is gonna steal this animal's pajamas, or if he's still fine with just one jersey.
Well, I'm quite fine for now, thank you. The zebra are already judging me enough by having a massive set of white horns strapped to Rusty, so I'm not going to steal their stripy pajama coat either for protection of my legs, because things are fine at this stage. My right hand, hopefully my right hand won't die in the process and get frostbite while we drive around. Wouldn't want a frostbitten finger, but of course it's not really that cold, is it, Ferg? We're not going to get frostbite, I don't think. As much as we think we might, we won't. But our two zebras were being so nice to one another. What is that?
So I don't have gloves.
You don't have gloves, and you're fine, of course, Ferg. But you also lived in the northern hemisphere, in the very, very cold northern hemisphere. You were in Scotland, weren't you?
London.
London. Oh, close enough. It's wet and cold that side, and so that means that Ferg will be quite used to these cooler temperatures and gloomy days such as this one. Now I'm going to try go forward a little bit, because the herd is going right out into the open, and it should be very pretty. They were grooming one another, and it was so nice just to watch the two of them kind of running their teeth through each other's coats and making sure everybody was in a clean state. So it will be nice if they just carry on that behavior as we roll forward. Now, of course, I was hoping to come around this corner and find the spotted figure of Shadow lying in the middle of the road with her cub and just taking it very easy, but alas, with this amount of animals around, I don't think she will be here, and we know that she was in Hoffman's this morning, so I was just taking a very big gamble just to see if maybe, just maybe, she has decided to come and lie on this side in one of these thickets, but so far no sign of her. I will check a little bit more and just see if there isn't any sign, but isn't it great that we got to catch up with the little one as well? So nice to see that the little one is doing well. There wasn't very many updates on her for quite a while, and so to be able to see that she is alive and well and doing very well is good. It's going to mean that hopefully that one has gotten through the worst parts and the most dangerous parts of being a very young leopard, and is now at the ability to climb and to move, and I wouldn't be surprised if we start to see that little one venturing out more and more over the next few months, and hopefully the southwestern corner will be the area that that little one spends a lot of time, and we get to see and spend time with it in this area as well. So at least good news ahead and hope on the horizon, that's for sure. But it's amazing how white the grass is here. If you look at the sort of difference between the whiteness of the zebra and the grass itself, it's actually amazing how white this grass has gone in the last few weeks. It's gone from a sort of brownish color to more white, and it is very pretty when you have these contrasting black stripes in amongst that white grass. It's a beautiful picture. Now, I haven't seen our baby zebra from yesterday morning. I don't know where our baby zebra is. I was trying to look for it this afternoon, and maybe, just maybe, it's somewhere up near quarantine this evening. So I'm going to pay attention when I go back home tonight and see if I can't see it. I'm hoping that little baby zebra will survive. It was so cute. And so for those of you who missed it, yesterday morning we found a baby zebra that was still wobbling. It was so new, and it was kind of trying to figure things out and was running around with mom, and it was a very, very cute scene that we had yesterday morning. So hopefully our zebra will be somewhere around and will stay nice and safe. Hopefully Mr. Tingana and the Nkuhuma Pride don't find it, because they would love to go after a zebra of that size, that's for sure. But you can see that wind is still howling at this stage. Whew, tough night ahead for you guys. So Tess, you've heard zebras can be a little grouchy, is that true? Well, Tess, that is very true. Zebras do have a little nasty streak to them, and particularly the males, they can be quite temperamental, and it's kicking and biting each other and causing huge amounts of damage to one another. And in fact, I've seen it quite often where people automatically say lions because they see these big gaping wounds around the thigh areas of another male, and it's actually not. It just comes from the males themselves when they fight. Unlike the other animals that have horns, these guys have erupted canines, so effectively very similar to what a lion or a leopard would have, in that they have a sharp canine tooth and they will then try and bite one another, and that often causes massive lacerations to the side of the body. And it's even reported that they sometimes have castrated one another, so it's not really something that is very pleasant to talk about as a male, but it is what happens. And so zebras can be a little bit on the aggressive side. I've also seen lots of incidents where zebras have kicked out, and particularly zebras on small areas where people try and interact with them a little bit in small game farms. There's been quite a few incidents with zebras kicking people and biting people and just being generally full of nonsense. And it's why zebras never became domesticated. Not only that, but they also have quite weak spines, and so they were not as good at load bearing as what horses and donkeys were, and so that meant that they weren't actually domesticated that much. So their temper kept them a wild animal, which is pretty cool actually. What's interesting also is that these zebras are right near where the Nkuhumas in the Birmingham killed that zebra 2 days ago. It was 2 days ago, 2 or 3 days ago. And it's interesting that they're here. I wonder if it is a similar herd or if it is the same herd. We know that the herd that we saw with the female that was in distress that morning when we found the zebra carcass was heading in this direction, and it could very well have been that that herd split and has now come back together. But it's surprising how close they are. If we had to draw a straight line from where these zebras are to where that zebra was killed, I would say we're not even 100 meters from where that zebra was killed. And I'm surprised with the freshness of that carcass that there isn't a scent here that these animals are nervous about. It seems like they don't really mind too much. So where Ferg is pointing is exactly where they were, inside that area there, and that's where the carcass was. But you can see these animals are in no way perturbed, and it's also because the wind, I think, is blowing from the wrong direction. So at the moment the wind is coming from the south, whereas that carcass is lying to the north of them. Well, what's left of that carcass. I drove there yesterday and we couldn't find very much. So between the lions and hyenas, they definitely destroyed that carcass and really absorbed every bit of nutrients that there was. So, Terry, you're wondering if the smells are different when it's cloudy and overcast, and I assume you mean just the general kind of smells within the bush. And no, not really. It's actually, I suppose, a little bit. It smells a lot more dusty when it's like this, particularly when it's windy, because the wind kicks up so much dust and it gets this kind of dusty scent to it, and you get a cold, runny nose, and it just feels like your nose is blocked with dust all the time. So that's not ideal. But other than that, the smells, no. You'll find carcasses won't smell nearly as much as on a hot, sunny day. So if something is dead, then definitely it doesn't smell nearly as much as if it was 40 degrees out here and very, 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 very hot. So in that regard, yes, but otherwise the smells are pretty similar. And the only time we really get a very big change in smells is when we have rain. So rain brings about that wet, damp smell, and it really is very nice to smell rain, because after that then you start to get quite fragrant herbs that grow and flowers that come out, and that changes the sort of smell of the bush a little bit. But now in the winter months, whether it's overcast or sunny, the actual smell is still that kind of dusty, dry smell, which is, I know sounds really odd, but it is exactly like that. All right, well, let's see if we can't do this little loop around and see, maybe, just maybe, we find some sort of sign of a shadow in the little one. You can see our kudu seems as though it's had one too many drinks this evening. It's now starting to lean heavily to the right, our one horn, so he's a bit skew, but oh well. It's least we can do is try and see if we can limp home with our kudu and make it all the way, and at least it looks like he had a good night out, that's for sure. Now, I'm going to just quickly check this little section here. I'm not 100% sure where Shadow was actually seen, so I'm just going where I know she sometimes likes to lie, which just so happens to be right through the middle of this herd of zebra. So I'm sorry about this, everybody. I don't mean to interrupt dinner. Alright, slowly but surely, let's just putter through. Come on. Right, there we go. That's everybody off the path. Sorry, everyone. Thank you very much for letting us by. You've got to give them a little wave as you go past and say thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. And while we do that, let's go to Ellie and see where she is and whether she's frozen to death yet. Well, I hope not death, because that will be rather sad, but let's see how she's doing and whether she's coping with this cold weather.
I think Tristan has gone completely crazy today. I really think so. Putting stuff on his car, stealing the pajamas from the zebras. too much wind in his head, I believe. We are heading towards Treehouse Dam because it's nice and warmer down here. See if perhaps there's something that will come and have a bit of a late drink. I am hoping maybe Hosanna or Shadow, because if Shadow wanted to come up this way, maybe, you know, Treehouse Dam would be a good option, although there's another pan not too far that I think it would be better for her. The reports from the other vehicle said that she did go further south into Hofmann's, but who knows? She seems to be coming in and out quite often, and always with the scrub hair. I wonder if she's just going through a scrub hair phase. Will she just come into Djuma, pick a scrub hair, and then go back into Hofmann's and give them to their cub? I won't lie, I would much prefer it if it was the other way around. I think that would be a bit more entertaining for us, although I cannot really complain. We had a wonderful sighting this morning, even if it was just for a few moments, and that little one is just looking so pretty. Oh, I think there might be someone that stopped here for a drinks break. Might be the case, so we're not going to go into the dam wall just so that we don't disturb them, and we're going to carry on. Doesn't seem like there is much on the dam anyway, so no. I apologize if any of you guys had any issues with the stream. Seems like everything's been sorted out already. We are still in the lookout for pretty much anything, but I think maybe we're gonna go try our luck with the hyena den now. They're still about maybe 10 minutes away, but worth give it a try, see if perhaps they are there. Because I can't believe just as I've managed to grab a glimpse or two of the little ones that were in there, it seems like they have gone and moved off somewhere else. So I've checked 3 different dens already, and none of them seem to be quite active. So I'm hoping maybe they were just going through a bit of a phase. Also, the temperature up here is much nicer, so if they are around here, they could be outside. So I suppose all this speculating is not going to get me anywhere. But I'm going to go and check anyway. And thank you for welcoming back, everyone. It was a long absence, and we were completely terrified of not being with you. No, I'm joking. But we are back here, so thankfully it was just a minor thing, and we are up and going again. Not too many things have changed since the last time you saw us. We were still driving around, and we're going to carry on driving around until we find something or a track that sends us in a different direction. While I head onto the hyena den to see if perhaps they are there, let's go over to Tristan, who's already begun his search for the nocturnal animals.
Well, we are still looking for nocturnal animals, so we're trying to see what we can find. And I was just saying hello to Taxon quickly as well. And Taxon's laughing at me still because he saw me trying to put my horns on the front of my car, and so he's having a good laugh because we're still driving around with them, and they weren't up properly when he came past earlier. So he's enjoying the fact that we've now put these up. And so we're just right here on our southern boundary looking for any signs of Shadow and Cub. Now, Shadow and Cub, for those of you who don't know, is a female leopard with her cub, and it's a little female cub that she's got. And this morning they killed a scrub hare, which is a type of rabbit slash hare. Well, it's a hare, but it's like a rabbit. And they had that for breakfast, and then they've moved, sounds like, further south. So I was just on the off shot that she might be this side. I was just checking along here, but sounds like she's gone deeper into Hoffman's, and also got an update that Hosanna is in Hoffman's as well, not too far south of us. So he's probably, I would say, about 800 yards to a mile south of us at the moment, and so hopefully he'll decide to get up and come this side. Interestingly enough, though, I was asking them if they've seen any signs of We are wild, but we are all back, and we apologize for any inconveniences. We have carried on with our night search for tiny little creatures. I was hoping to find an owl or two tonight, because I mean, it's not like they can really fly away. I'm sure this wind is pretty much making everyone stay put. But nonetheless, no owls yet, but who knows, the night is still young. Maybe we'll be able to find a porcupine. Still haven't seen my first porcupine on Djuma, so I'm really hoping it'll happen sometime soon. Hopefully. And if not, then well, pretty much anything else will be welcome too. I think, funny enough, Kennedy, you were asking earlier on about Hosanna, and Hosanna, it seems like he's all the way in Little Gowrie, as well as Shadow and her cub, and they all seem to be fine. They're not together. Everybody is in different corners of the reserve, but they're all in there. So at least we know the Royal Prince is doing well, and he is back in Little Gowrie, so I'm hoping in the next few days he's going to carry on moving north and come back to say hello to, you know, all of his fans. So, here's to hoping. Whew, this road is very dusty. Every time we drive on it, I feel like I'm eating all of the sands in the Sabi sand. Whew.
Alright. Chameleons? Bush babies? Porcupines? Jackals? Nope. Everyone playing the fool and hiding around. I think I'm a bit more optimistic about the weather for tomorrow. I think we might just have a bit of a cloud cover in the morning. So maybe tomorrow it won't be as cold, but I'm definitely hoping it won't be as windy. I think it's finally died down now a little bit, making everything a bit more comfortable. I think most of the animals have decided to have an early night. I'm sure the predators will be on the prowl tonight. A lot of them moving and coming and going. And it would be a good night for Shadow to move around and go catch another scrub hare. Lauren, you're wondering what my favorite animal in safari is. My favorite animals are rhino. White rhinos to be more specific. And I just love them very much. I think they are one of the coolest tanks that they roam around in the bush, and for very big creatures they make very high-pitched noises, which is quite funny. And when they get spooked they start jumping around like crazy things like this, so it's always very funny to watch. But those are my favorite ones, although I'm very happy to see pretty much anything. I think also the cats are very special creatures to be able to see, and of course the elephants and the hyenas. And the giraffes. I also like giraffes. They're pretty and tall. Well, then of course the wild dogs. And one day, hopefully up here, I'll be able to see a cheetah. I hear the cheetah brothers were spotted in the Manileti not too long ago, and that they seem to be doing just fine. So good for them. Maybe they'll come down onto this area on Impala Plains, which is nice and open with lots of impala. Would be a perfect area for the cheetahs to come and hunt around. Now, this is also a good area for porcupines and aardvarks. But, not here. I'm gonna carry on looking around here, but in the meantime, let's go over to Tristan and see how his search for nocturnal creatures is going.
Not very well. So far I've managed to find absolutely nothing that is active at night so far. It's all just been trees and grasses that I've managed to see on my evening safari, but that's okay, it's not a problem. We always got to save the good stuff for last, and maybe our last minute leopard Tingana will come out of the bush somewhere here. Nobody knows where he went to from last night, and so nobody has tracks anywhere, and maybe, just maybe, he might pop out somewhere as he likes to do as a last minute individual. So we'll hold out hope for him. But other than that, it's quiet on even the scrub hare front. Very few nightjars tonight, which are the small little birds that sit on the road. No coursers, so it really has been quiet. And I think with all this wind, everything's trying to just stay somewhere where it's a little bit sort of insulated and try and stay as warm as possible. Kennedy Gardens, you wondering if there are any snakes here? Well, yes, there are. There are quite a number of snakes that we get in this area, and lots of ones that can hurt you and can bite you, and you don't really want to get venom from them in you. So we do get a lot of snakes, but at this time of the year, because it's now getting very cold, you must remember that snakes are cold-blooded, and therefore they are not able to actually warm themselves up by shivering like we do. So you know when you're cold you'll shiver, and so the shaky snake, they can't do that, and so the snakes need to lie out in the sun to get warm and to be active. And so in winter they're not as active, and so we don't see our snakes nearly as much in the winter months than what we do in the summer. Now on a warm summer's evening, now's the time that is good to find snakes, because if you shine your lights into the trees, you can often spot a snake curled up in the tree, and it reflects the light off the shiny scales and can be quite easy to spot. So using a torch can be very good to stop snakes at night. Now we also in the summer months try and see if we can find chameleons, and we've seen a few recently, but the chameleons seem to be a little bit cold tonight and don't want to be out and about, and I don't blame them. It is not a Friday night to be out and roaming and be on the town. It's a Friday night to be in bed and to be taking it very easy, and so that's where I would imagine all the animals have gone for now. But I want to go and check just in this little open section close to Buetela Dam, because there's sometimes the animals go there at night for safety. So you'll find that the impalas and wildebeest and waterbuck and kudu and nyala, they go that way to try and get into an open section so that they can see what's going on. Now you'll see that I'm using my light to scan around quite a bit. So for those who don't know why we use a light, is because the eyes reflect back at us and it makes it much easier to find things. Oh, hello little wildebeest. Now Ferg, do you have your IR set up? You do. So there we go, there's a wildebeest that is just coasting off into the darkness, and Ferg's going to switch on his infrared mode, and there we go. There you can see our wildebeest moving. So the reason it's gone black and white is because we're using a very special light that allows us to see at night. Now Ferg, I'm just trying to see, maybe if I go back is going to be better, and that allows us to be able to look at the animals without disturbing their behavior in any way. So the animal themselves don't see the light and it doesn't blind them like our big spotlights do, and so that's why we use these infrared lights. Now, no, I know, I'm just trying to scan to see if I can see where he went. Ferg, I don't know, maybe he stopped behind the bush. You can see how elusive an animal can be at night, and this is why being out at night is quite difficult in regards to spotting animals, is because yes, you see their eyes, but unless they're looking at you, they can just disappear into the darkness and it becomes really tough to find them. So I don't know where our wildebeest has gone. I thought he was going to emerge from this thicket right in front of us, but we've got a magical wildebeest. What's that? Ghost wildebeest, yeah. Maybe we were just seeing things, Ferg. So hopefully, let's see from this angle. Maybe we'll find him from this angle. Where did he go? He was right here and then he walked that way. That's interesting. It's not exactly thick there, so I don't know where our wildebeest went off to.
Ask the viewers if they saw it, because maybe we just imagine.
Yeah, maybe we need to ask all of you if you actually did see this wildebeest, or if maybe Ferg and I have just had a long day and we're thinking we saw something and it actually wasn't even there. So, Chantal, you saw it. Well done, Chantal. Now there's an owl calling as well, but it's very far away. But it sounds like a pearl-spotted owl calling. So, Kennedy Gardens, you wondering how the animals use their body parts to protect themselves? Well, it depends on what animal we're talking about. So, things like wildebeest, kudu, impalas, all of the antelope species that have horn structures on their heads, they'll use those a lot of the time to defend from one another. So if they're fighting with each other, if they're trying to fight with a predator, generally they're going to try and run away and use their very, very powerful legs that can generate a lot of speed and try and run from that animal. So that's how they defend themselves when it comes to predators. But when they're trying to fight with one another, they'll use the horns. Things like lions and leopards and hyenas, wild dogs, all of the animals that are carnivorous, they will generally fight with one another using very sharp claws and very big teeth that they bite and claw at one another, and even the other animals that attack them, and that's how they try to defend themselves. And if you think of something like a zebra will also use very sharp teeth as well as a very strong leg that they kick one another, and the same with giraffe. So it just depends on the animal, and those ones will use that. Sometimes you'll find with birds that they'll use very sharp beaks. I've actually seen a bird killing another bird by pecking at its head and basically getting into its brain and killing it, which was really quite something to see. So birds will use their beak or their talons if they're an eagle, and then you'll find with the insects they will use varying different things. So some of them will be able to inject a venom, some of them will be able to inject some sort of toxin or poison. Well, not inject, but sorry, some of them will be poisonous, and if they're eaten, then they can affect that animal. So it just depends. They'll also have spiky legs, or they'll use very sharp things like fangs or sharpened legs or stings like in bees to be able to then defend themselves. So it just depends on the animal, and they all have their own unique way of doing things. Right, Ferg, let's try see if we can't find another animal that doesn't disappear after about 1 second of us showing it. So while we're searching with our spotlights to try and see if we can't find a living, breathing being out here and not just a ghost wildebeest. Let's go across to Ellie and see if she's had more luck than we have.
We had a bit more luck. We found a genet, which was pretty amazing, but unfortunately it was very long grass and then it ran away, so we only managed to see it for a few seconds before its little body moved around. And if you're wondering what a genet is, then it's a very small, almost looks like a weasel, or in between a weasel and a ferret, I would call it. It's a small nocturnal creature, tends to live up in the trees, and it's got some beautiful spots all along its body. And we don't see them all that often, so it was a good surprise for the night drive. I'm hoping we'll spot maybe some more chameleons, or who knows, porcupine. I'm set on a porcupine. I would really like to see a porcupine, so come on, porkies. Where are you at? Thought I saw a pair of eyes. Chitty Chatty Meg, you're wondering if animals are born with an instinct to fear humans, or if it's something that they learn. Well, I think animals in general learn to fear, or to be, maybe not fear might be a bit of a strong word, but to be wary of anything that's not them or part of their family unit, because they don't know what it is, and they're the self-preservation instinct, it's quite good in them, so they know that. Oh, well, there's a little bit of a hare over there. Perhaps we can see a live one, seeing that we saw a dead one this morning that was up in Shadow's cub's little mouth.
Sorry, where?
Right there.
Oh, okay.
Hopefully we'll be able to see it down.
A bit of light on it.
Yes, there we go. Sorry, I'm still trying to learn all this infrared stuff. There it is. So this is what the little cub was eating this morning. We're not too sure where exactly Shadow managed to catch it, but I'm sure it was on Djuma's side, and then she took it back to Hoffman's and was pretty happy around there. So quite a small creature. Normally it would be a good bite for the little one. I think maybe considering Shadow is not the biggest of leopards, it could be a good meal for her too, but maybe she would need more than one to feel fully satisfied. Now it looks very much like a bunny, but it's not a little rabbit. Alright, it ran away. So not quite a little rabbit, but very similar to it. It's just the difference between them is rabbits will move around during the day, whereas the little hares, they come around during the night, and they don't live underneath the ground like rabbits do. They actually stay on top of the ground in very thick vegetation, or amongst fallen over trees, or and spiny bushes, just to protect themselves from pretty much anything else. Now there is still a bit of time left, so come on, porcupine, we're waiting for you on this Friday night. Come out to party, rattle your quills, party, party, party. No? Maybe porcupines don't really like partying. Very, the wind is starting to howl again, and I wonder what type of evening we're gonna have. I really hope the lions are gonna start heading back in this direction, or at least some of them, because with this windy afternoon, I'm sure it's going to be quite something. Let's go over here. I've never taken this road before. Hopefully it'll lead me in a good direction, or in the direction of a beautiful creature. But I think while I try to find my way, it's time for us to say goodbye to all of you. We've had another fantastic day out here in the bush, and we really hope that you guys have enjoyed it as much as what we had. Bit of a crazy morning following leopards and leopard cubs, and of course trying to find the wild dogs. And then this afternoon we pretty much have fought the wind and everything else that's been coming our way. So we'll see you guys tomorrow. Let's see what the weather prepares for all of us, but I'm sure whatever it is, we will have fun trying to get you guys to see the wildlife. Until tomorrow, guys.